on this screen. See if it continues. It looks like it's going live. And I think we're there. Hey, there we are. Hey, good morning, everybody. So most people have the right to say no. The challenge is that we have a tendency to ask them yes questions. Now, it's important to go for the yes. 100% agree it's important to go for the yes. Not only the yes. If no is not available, the yes, I don't care which one of the three yeses, will never work. So it wouldn't be unfair, it wouldn't be uncommon to ask them if they could say no. Listen, real quick before we get started, do me a favor, say no. I want you to know you have the authority to do that. So just say, I say no to that. Just practice. I say no to that. Practice that. And what you'll realize is that you take away this invisible weight that's sitting on them. So what I want to share with you today is a couple of ideas, right? I'm going to share with you some 10 questions that can help you break through, have some conversation with people. What I really want you to do is to understand that there's a way to ask those same questions, and I'll give you some examples. Ask the same questions in a way that gets the no response. And then there's a way to ask the same question to get them to correct you with the truth. And I'm going to give you some examples of those. Okay. So let me make sure I can see people coming in over there. I can see if people have questions. There's the chat there. Okay. All right. So thank you, Diane, for participating. So here's a couple of questions. The 10 questions about identity. If you were to ask somebody about their commitment, if you're looking for somebody who says they're a business builder, they're a business prospect, meaning they want to go create income, you could ask some questions, right? Like, would it be wrong to assume you already have at least one standard one standard you keep even on the hard days? Would it be wrong to assume that? No, it wouldn't be wrong to assume that. What's going to be the challenge is you having the conversation with yourself, you practicing this so that it sounds normal, right? So that it sounds in such a way that you can literally have the conversation that it begins to flow from you. Does that make sense? That's where the biggest challenge happens in asking questions, is that we're not used to asking questions, because we don't like to be asked questions, because we have to reveal a part of ourselves that we might not want things to be revealed on. Does that make sense? So understanding, I want you to listen to these questions as we go through them. If you start to truly grasp the power of questions, what would be the most amazing tool you'll be able to begin to use in your business is the power of questions. It's not your comp plan. How do I know your comp plan isn't the most powerful tool in the arsenal of prospecting? Because people don't sign up for your comp plan. The majority of people don't sign up for your compensation plan. You know what else is not the most important thing to somebody, to a prospect? Your ingredient list. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to use it. It's the questions you create and craft around those important things to allow them to see the importance of those things. Does that make sense? So here's a question. So let me walk you through a version of one question. We'll go through all 10 questions, but let me walk you through the 3 versions of one question. Got a hair in my eye. What standard do you already live by, even on hard days? Right? That might be question number one. That's question number one. And hey, listen, what standard do you have to live by, even on hard days? What standard do you already live by, even on hard days? It's a pretty generic. It's a specific, but it's a non-threatening question, right? What it forces them to do is to come up with the standard, and they have to decide a lot of things with that question. It's a great question. They've got to decide a lot of things. They've got to create a lot of boundaries or baskets. They got to decide what is a hard day. And if they're struggling in life, pretty much every day is a hard day, and therefore they can't see them as hard days. And then they've got to decide what are their standards. And what are their standards they use for the antithesis? What are the standards they use on the easy days? That makes the hard days different. There's a lot going on there. Now, it's a good question. You'll get a decent answer. It's a powerful question. My goal is to help you understand that that same question can be asked a handful of different ways, a couple of ways additionally to develop, to uncover more content, right? So if we were to ask that, and we were to go for the no, and meaning to give them autonomy, to ask them a question that's narrowed down enough that allows them to say, well, no, that's not the case in my life. Here's that version. The no is useful data. Here's how that would sound, right? Would it be wrong to assume you already have at least one standard you keep even on the hard days? No, it wouldn't be wrong to assume that. Could you tell me about it? See, we took them away from having to create and craft in their mind what a standard is, and do they have one? Do they not have one? Do they use one? Do they not use one? Would it be wrong to assume you already have at least one standard you live by, even on the hard days? Same question. Same exact question. Designed to give you the no. Right? Here's how you get the correcting self-perception. Here's how there's the next level of that question. You probably don't have a non-negotiable standard you stick to even on the easy days. Well, yeah, I do. Well, what is it? See, people, it is a desire. It is designed into our brains that we want to correct people. You know anybody who likes to correct people in their conversations? Do you know anybody who likes to make sure the answer is absolutely perfect by them adding content, by them butting in, by them fixing the statement? Do you know what I'm talking about? So what we're doing in this third version of this question is getting them, is offering them a chance to correct us. Now, it's not hard to ask the question. We have to be okay with being corrected. That's where this absolutely drives people insane. This is why prospectors, salespeople, almost refuse to use this kind of language, because they sit with the correction of them feeling like they're being corrected. How many of you like to be corrected? when you grasp the concept and understand the significance of this philosophy of allowing them to correct you, it's not that you're wrong, you're allowing them to tell a truth, a corrected truth that helps the process move along at exponential speed. And this is available for all versions of any question you currently use. Does that make sense? So here's a second question. Here's a second example. Where do you currently leak integrity with yourself most often? Where do you currently let yourself down, leak integrity, fall short with yourself most often? Right? That's a good question. We go for the no. Is it fair to assume your environment and routines never pull you back into your old identity? Not a chance. Is it fair to assume that your environment or your routines, they never pull you back into your old identity, your old story? No, it's not fair. It's okay to assume that. Yeah, that's not an assumption. That happens. Right? You get a little autonomy. You've just admitted by saying no, right? Now, let's take it to the advanced level, if you will. And let's have the conversation about what would it sound like, the correction. My guess is that there's at least one area where you let yourself off the hook constantly. My guess is there's at least one area in your life you kind of let yourself off the hook constantly. And the likely correction would be is no, actually the area I'm working on is my hydration, my weight loss, and I'm trying to tighten that up. Now, as you listen to this, you'll hear these and go, that's going to make people feel uncomfortable. It's not. If you think it's going to make somebody uncomfortable, it's because you're uncomfortable with it. It's novelty. You've not heard these questions like this before, right? So I want to offer you the chance to understand that you can ask questions, you can ask good questions, you can ask amazing questions, and then you can ask questions that keep you from having to push people. And when you learn the value and the style of these questions, people will pull you into their life because they've never had this dialogue before. They may have answered questions just like this 1,000 times. They've not heard them said, they've not heard them asked in the way you're going to be able to ask them. When you break a promise to yourself, do you tend to just forget it and move on? You probably tend to forget it and move on, right? When you break a promise to yourself. How do you feel right now? I just asked you that question. When you the listener, when you break a promise to yourself, you tend to just move on and forget about it, right? Would you answer yes? Would you answer no and want to correct that answer? Correct that assumption? No, I usually notice it and it bothers me, and I try to understand why. Might be a response. Just making sense? When you spend time, listen, I promise you, your comp plan is in a PDF. You don't need to teach that. You don't. Nobody cares about your comp plan. Nobody cares about your 3 and free kind of concept. If they did, why aren't 1,000 people joining? I always had arguments when I was on the sales side, not the marketing side. I was on the sales. I was vice president of sales, not sales and marketing. of a $200 million network marketing company. And I would argue with these giveaways, these gifts, these things that make it easy. Because as soon as you make it easy once, if I have the chance to go, we have a promotion. You get started, get $100 back, and I get started and I get $100 back. So it's a $200 bonus. You get 100, I get 100. Let's get started. They get started. They get their 100, I get my 100. And that bonus goes away at the end of the month. Right? Here it is, the 29th of the month. Some companies are going to run promotions right now. And they do to get that, to get everything in this month so they can have the subscribe and save for next month. Totally understand. I did it. I was helping. I said, let's come up with some sales things. I was responsible for making sure sales hit marks every month. Challenges when that goes away, I don't have it doesn't seem like the prospect has a $400 story to tell now, because that's what it was. Or a $200 story, 100 for you, 100 for me. They just got taken away. They just had $200 taken away from their story, because now it's the full price, the full boat, the full tilt. So if you start operating on their promotions, your business will only grow when they have promotions. And you can't have conversations with your teams outside of promotions. Now, if they throw in promotions, outstanding. Let that be a plus. Don't let it be the reason. And that's possible when you understand how to serve another human being, how to activate another human being's wants, wishes, and desires. Does that make sense? Here's another example. Let's see here. Let's go to question 6. You always ask for support. You always ask for support the moment you need it. Is this the right one? Yeah. Oh, this is the autonomy one. So number 6, what support do you avoid asking for? And what story justifies that avoidance? Good question. Good question. Strong question. What support do you avoid asking for? Well, I'll ask you, what support do you avoid asking for? And what story justifies that avoidance? Begin to answer. And the reason I want you to feel it is because I want you to understand how your prospect feels it. So let's go to the no. Let's take it from the good question to the better question. And let's go for the no. Let's give them some authority back. You'll always ask for support the moment you need it. That's a given. And there's no part of you that avoids that, correct? You always ask for support in the moment you need it, right? And there's no part of you that avoids asking for that support, right? No. Are you kidding? Do you feel the difference? Do you feel the understanding? Do you feel how it shifts that same question? Ask, right? This is Wallace D. Wattles' example of it's not about doing certain things, asking a question about support and avoidance. It's about asking about things in a certain way. So now let's take that question and let's go for the corrected answer, right? Asking for help or accountability probably feels like a last resort for you, not the first step. No, I'm learning it's a strength. I could get better at asking for help. Asking for help or accountability probably feels like a last resort for you, not a first step. Now, it's a statement. It's not necessarily a question. We're throwing out a statement to kind of throw the dart on the board and it hits a particular spot. And we want them to correct it. We want them to pull a dart out and go, no, that should hit over here. As you glean and understand the psychology behind this, you'll start to realize these are they're almost unfair. They are so extraordinarily powerful to the human mind that you've got to promise to use this stuff for good. Got to promise to use this stuff for good. So let's go here. So let me go through the version 1 of the questions. So number 3, this is helping people with their identity. What's one promise you keep breaking? And what do you say to yourself afterwards? Right? So number 1 was, what standard do you already live by, even on hard days? Number 2, where do you currently leak integrity with yourself most often? Where do you currently leak integrity with yourself most often? And again, this is accessing their identity. Number 3, what's one promise you keep breaking to yourself? And what do you say to yourself afterward? So here's how, and then so these next 3 questions are expanding the identity area. If your life is giving you feedback, what lesson do you keep repeating? If your life is giving you feedback, what lesson do you keep repeating? Good questions, strong questions. Number 5, what environment, relationship, or rhythm keeps reinforcing itself, keeps reinforcing the old identity? What environment, what relationship, or rhythm keeps reinforcing the old identity? Let me give you an example of the corrective question. That was number 5. Your daily environment probably doesn't affect your mindset much, does it? I mean, you're stronger than that. Same question. Same question. Asked in a different way. It's the power of questions is extraordinary. Right? Number 6, we talked about it. What support do you avoid asking for? And what story justifies that avoidance? And then here's questions 7 through 10 are how do we begin to help them lock in this new identity? Lock in this new awareness. Here's question 7. What is your non-negotiable standard for the next 7 days that would create self-respect? These are powerful questions for yourself. I'd use them for yourself as well as prospecting. Number 8. 7 was, what is your non-negotiable standard for the next 7 days that would create self-respect? Number 8, what evidence would prove you lived that standard? What evidence would prove you lived that standard? Observable and specific. Meaning, what have you observed that would prove you've lived that standard, and what specifically have you done? What evidence would prove you've lived that standard? Observable and specific. Let me give you an example of what the no question would sound like in that. So, right, number 8, what we were on number 8, yes. So here's a question, and I'm going to go right to the no question. What evidence would prove you've lived that standard, observable and specific? Here's the upgrade. Do you prefer keeping it vague instead of naming evidence that would prove you've lived that standard? It's kind of a gotcha, isn't it? Well, no, I don't want to keep it vague. Well, then we should probably narrow it down. Now, let's go for the corrective one, right? So, question says, what evidence would prove you've lived that standard? What's the observable and the specifics about it, right? Go for the no. Do you prefer to keep it vague instead of naming evidence, observable actions that would prove you've lived that standard? And then here's the corrective conversation. Naming the specific proof of meeting your standard is overkill. You probably know you did it, right? Naming the specific proof is of meaning is probably overkill. You'll just know you did it. No, I need a reminder. No, being specific matters. The evidence would change everything about me. Same question. 3 different versions. There's the average, there's the above average, the above average, and then there's the I'm serious about what I do in helping you. Okay, let me give you 9 and 10. Where are we at here? Number 9, what will you do the first time you break into the old identity? What will you do the first time you break that standard, break that practice, so the old identity does not regain control? What will you do the first time you break the old pattern, right? So the old identity does not regain control. What will you do when you've broken out of your old story? And number 10, who would you need to become to sustain this for 90 days? And what would that version of you refuse to negotiate? Who would you need to become to sustain this for 90 days? And what would that version of you refuse to negotiate? Let me give you the version of the no conversation there. Is it accurate that the current version of you already refuses to negotiate with drift, with excuses, and with avoidance? Man, doesn't that change that changes the question from an interrogation to, no, it's not accurate. It's to give them autonomy. The reason somebody can't say yes to you is because they can't say yes to themselves. And they say no to you so they can say yes to their old story. Period. End of story. Lock it up. End of book. End of chapter. Close it. Seal it. Put the wax seal on that book. It is done. The only reason you refuse to advance, I could be saying this to a prospect, or I could be saying it to you. The only reason you refuse to advance is because your old story is more important than your new story. That's it. That's it. I don't have the money. That's your old story. I get it. You may not have the finances. We can figure out the finances. We can figure out how to create that. We can figure out leverage. I don't think that works for me. I don't think that's the case. So when you learn how to advance your questions, level up your questions, you getting better at explaining your comp plan isn't going to do a darn thing. It's not. Sorry. Unless you're already training the people who are in on the comp plan. I was taught by my mentor, the best way to know the comp plan is to go do it. Not to learn it, not to be able to spout it out and explain it. How much of your comp plan does a prospect need to learn? The next level. If they're a customer, go get another customer. That's all they need to know. They don't need to know about becoming a gold, super, platinum, stardust, magnificent, riding camels poobah. They don't. They don't. And if they do, it's why they quit. Because they haven't made it to the next level. So there you go. That's how to understand the question, good questions, how to upgrade your questions to good questions, how to get them to offer autonomy to your prospect, autonomy questions, give them authority questions. And then the ultimate is to have them correct you. Most people won't venture into that arena because to have them correct you, you'll carry this idea that you were wrong and I don't want to be wrong. I'm always right. And you'll struggle with that level of questioning. And it's not that you are being corrected because you're wrong. You're wanting them to correct a truth that exists out there that they know is not true and you know is not true. And you ask it in a way that they need to correct this non-truth to give you truth. And in that new truth, you have a new path forward. Changes everything. You might want to hold on to questions. You might want to keep asking the questions because you like checking boxes to say you've reached out to 10 people and nobody enrolled. You may like that. What'd your brain just say? Oh, no, I don't like that. Didn't you want to just correct that statement? This is how the brain works. So there you go. Questions, thoughts, comments. We got a couple of minutes. Questions, thoughts, comments, takeaways, take with yous.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Silka.
How are you feeling this morning?
Outstanding.
Oh, I'm glad we're back to outstanding. Do you still have a lot of snow?
Oh, yeah, it's all still here.
Really?
Yeah, because
Wow.
it got up to 40 yesterday, 42, and some of it melted, but no, there's still 6, 7 inches of snow out there. And then it got down to 32 degrees last night, so it all froze again. So
It's a little warmer than it was.
yeah.
Oh, very
And we're
good.
due on Saturday, we're due for 7 degrees again.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And how are the animals?
Oh, good. Yeah. I turned off their heat lamps. They don't need nobody's spending time inside their shed anymore, so they don't need the heat lamps. Those things
Oh,
suck up some energy. Holy mackerel.
oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad everyone is doing well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when it's so cold out, I would think.
It's been interesting.
But you did say Molly loved the snow.
Molly loves it. She's beyond. I've not seen a dog who goes outside to lay on a snow. Now Fiona wanted to do that. Molly does it. She goes out, she jumps down, and then she starts licking the ice. It's like, okay, you're just a little cuckoo
Uh,
for Cocoa Puffs.
well, it's okay. So,
Yes.
I do. I mean, I'm listening to your questions, but it's confusing me even more. Not the last one was the compensation plan. Certainly, I totally agree with you. I think it is crazy for people, especially if they're not big leaders. Certainly, big leaders want to know, the compensation plan or what's the top rank
Right.
and so on, and how
Sure.
can we get there? That
Yep.
that's fine, and I understand that. But when people Yes, and I've sometimes had people push me wanting to know. Well, but I need to know. It's like, no, you just really need to know, you need to actually just enroll people. And it doesn't matter if it's customers or brand ambassadors. It's the same, literally,
Right.
which is nice and which is easy. But yes, so I don't know why sometimes people do that, but I don't go into it. It's like just the first thing is you need to get 3 people. That's simple. I think anybody can follow that. But a lot of the other questions you were just doing, you lost me somehow.
Well,
Uh,
and that's because
Now, were these questions you want I should be asking of the prospect, or
yeah,
questions I should be asking of me?
you can ask them of you. I would do yourself first, and then I would. But you could use these for with prospecting, right? We would ask, what's the standard you already live by, even on tough days? That's not a bad.
You
That's a
ask,
good question.
well, but in regards to what? I mean, just
No, well,
reaching out and asking them that?
no.
I guess that's
If you're
kind
having
of,
a one-on-one with them, right? You're doing a presentation. These are kind of during a presentation conversation. Now, tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow I'll do cold market questions.
so I asked them why I'm giving them a presentation. What standards do you already live by in regards to just their life or their travels?
Oh,
I mean, how would that?
what
No,
would
I
you?
think it's
So
a
if you were, you like to travel. This is I'm talking to a prospect.
yes.
What were the standards? What would be the requirements you would look for in your next to maximize your travel? What are some of the requirements you think that are missing from your current your travel rules, your travel itineraries? What are some things you wish that could become a new standard for you to travel by?
Okay, well, I see. Yes, they could say, I want to from now on only fly business class because I'm old and I don't want to be crunched into one of those economy seats.
Totally agree. 100% agree. It's kind of a rule I live by. What's keeping you from doing that now?
Um, I don't have the money to do that.
So, are you familiar with any travel um, discounts provider that would offer to pay for your business class upgrade?
No.
You should learn about my company.
Ah, well, you are so perfect. No, I mean, it is, yeah, it's all so simple when I talk to you and you
Well,
make it just so easy.
well, two things. One, if you hear it as easy, it's because it is easy. Einstein said everything should be as simple as possible, not simpler. So if you ask, I ask people all the time, what are your three biggest requirements to operate a business? It's got to make money, it's got to be trendy, and it's got to you got to have a lot of customers. Awesome. Where do you currently find that in a part-time opportunity? Nowhere. You should, if you hit those three criteria, are those three criteria important enough for you to spend, I don't know, 45 minutes or 45 hours finding the perfect business model for you?
Yes, but how would I find the customers? That's like one of the things people always
Well,
ask.
if it's trending, how does something go? How is something trending? How is something have a $7 trillion industry? Is it because there's no customers?
No, that's there are certainly,
Okay, so if it's a $7 trillion industry, don't you think there's already customers seeking that marketplace?
of course.
So if there's $7 trillion worth of customers already using it, would it be okay if you went to that resource, to that ocean of $7 trillion with a bucket and took out what was yours?
Of course.
Awesome. Do you think a company that's been around for 8 years has figured out ways to help you find customers? Because if they couldn't find customers, do you think they'd be around for 8 years?
Well, no, they wouldn't be, certainly.
They wouldn't be. So, would you be okay with using tools to find customers you've never had before?
Yes.
Awesome. Would you, if you decided when you looked at their tools that because you weren't familiar with them, you chose not to use them, you'd be okay with not getting customers?
I wouldn't be okay with not getting customers,
Okay,
but you
so
have
that's a no. So you would want customers.
Yeah, I think,
Okay,
yes,
so
of
would it be
course, I
okay?
would want customers.
Would it be okay to say then that you're going to have to look at a new way to acquire customers?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Then this probably works for you.
Yes. How can I get started?
Very easily. So that's the process.
Yes, I don't ask enough questions, I think. That's
As soon as they ask a question, we want to answer them.
yes. So how do we not do that? We should ask another question. Is that
Yes. If I give you the answer to that, is that enough to get started, or what's the next question? What's the real question you want to ask?
I always think if I was saying that, it would be rude and they would be upset.
Have you ever heard? You've heard me say it 100 times here, and has anybody said you're an idiot? Screw you, and hang up and leave the Zoom?
No, but I mean, there's some people who just don't come back, I
No, they
guess.
won't. Well, no, but that's not because I asked them the question.
That's because they don't want to change.
Well, they've gotten to a point to where they've excelled, and they'll be back when they hit another wall. That's okay. They don't realize they don't have to stay in these plateaus. People want upward growth. They want hockey stick growth. They want that upward line, but they go up and then flat line. They think it's success. It's a flat line. Any line that's flat is a flat line. You are dead in that space. And then when their expenses start to exceed that again, they're like, oh, I got to grow. The motivation to grow is not because they want to grow. It's because they can't afford to stay where they're at. That's the majority of 90% of people's growth. It's not because they want to grow because they have capability, capacity, and expansion already inside of them. They're going to become the miracle that they've been. They've hit this and they flatline until expenses catch up and supersede them, right? You look at every network marketer. They make $10,000 a month. They spend 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
They make 20,000 a month. They spend 30. Right? Because the company's going to come out with a promotion and my 20,000 a month is going to go up to 50,000 and I can pay my past due bills. It's fascinating. Why don't we want to expand? What would be the problem? What's the reason? What's the excuse we give ourselves to not continue to expand on a daily basis? Principle of Kaizen, 1% improvement every day.
Well, I always ask myself that. And I have noticed people that are multimillionaires and billionaires will always look for the next thing to move up, to keep moving. The rest of the people will say, my plate is full when they have 3 things on it.
Yep.
So why is it the mindset of them? They
Sure,
put
well,
a limit out on themselves where the other ones don't.
Well, the other ones know that expansion is where growth is. This one is expansion is uncertainty, and when they expansion, if it's the expansion is uncertain, identity shifting, they're in their comfort zone. That's their pain zone.
Because I've watched that, I see that. It's very well, to me sometimes it's very small minded of people. Oh, that's like one of the biggest excuses that I see. Oh, my plate is full. I mean, what does that even mean? I mean, just people's plate is
you hear a fact, you've got to turn that into a question.
okay.
What would need to be taken off your plate so you could enjoy the buffet of life?
Oh, wow.
Don't take any of their questions as facts. Repeat them back to them as a question. So what you're saying is that with your current plate, that's all you'll ever get out of life? That's a corrected answer. Well, no, I want more from life. Oh, what would more look like? I need them to crack the plate. Because if I say, well, you can do more.
I just tell them they need a larger plate, but that hasn't worked.
If that plate is all you'll have in life, what do you think you're missing out on?
Oh my God, that is so good. because people don't want to miss out on things. At least most of the time they don't.
I'd ask him a question. Who gave you the small plate?
Oh my God.
Small plates are good if you're going for stand-up food. I like big sit-down dinners. What else would you like to put on your plate that's not on there?
Wow. Do you think they would respond to that?
Of course they would. They gave you the plate. You didn't say, I think you're living life with a small plate. You deserve bigger. I know I deserve bigger, but if I admit to that, then I'm a failure. This activates shame.
And you don't think it activates shame when you ask them who gave them the small plate?
No, because then they get to blame somebody else. It's not their fault. I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
Oh my God, I love that one. Why
I'm curious,
haven't
who
I
gave you
heard
the
that?
small? I'm curious, who told you to pick up the small plate? Who said you weren't enough? I think you're more than enough. I think you have talents. I bet your friends say you have more talents and skills than most of the friends they know. I'm curious, who told you could only live life with a small plate?
When you were just saying the small plate, I always pick up a small plate for my dessert.
Yeah, I listen. I still got to eat my meal. Dessert doesn't take me very far.
Oh, wow. Well, this is an amazing one because yes, that's one of the things I get a lot, and I'm always trying
So
to
you
tell
could
them.
say, how many things on your plate do you really want on your plate? If you got a lot of things on your plate, I can promise you they're not all your main course. There's probably a lot of things you don't even like to eat on your plate.
And yet you leave it on there.
Yeah.
Like with the buffet, people, I can visualize it.
Yeah.
People put all the stuff on there and then they only eat half because some of the stuff that doesn't taste good, right?
Yep.
So, but how? Okay, I need to ask you this because I don't hear the plate thing anywhere else but in US. How did that come about that people say that even? I mean, this is taking it a step
So
further, I
here's
guess.
the hard facts. They know if I say my plate is full, it shuts you down. That's it. That's the only, they don't even know what's on their plate. They have just learned because it was thrown at them. They have asked somebody, hey, could you come to join us and volunteer at the kids thing or to help with the church party or the, oh, my plate's full. Somebody said that and they go, oh my God, that's the best way to shut people down.
Because it's so bizarre. At least to me it is. I don't know about other people when people say that. Like, what the heck?
It's a great tool. You got to give it credit. Now that you know that when somebody says, oh, my plate's full,
Now I'm waiting for somebody to say it
and
just
you
so
can
I
kind
can
of gig with them going,
ask the question.
what do you have, a dessert plate for life? Do you at least have a china plate, or is this plate you're talking about a paper plate?
Wow.
Oh man, my plate's full. Who gave you such a small plate? I think you got more skills and talents, don't you?
Wow. That's like, wow. I'm gonna add that to it.
Now you got to practice it so it doesn't sound like, oh, here it is. I can say this, and you can hit them with a bat. You got to say it with curiosity in your voice. Oh, my plate's full. Seriously?
Well, people, you know what? I'm not sure that anybody's ever said that to my face. It's usually people message me that.
Well, so if they message me that, my wish for you is a dinner-sized plate of success. Let me know when you're ready to fill that out.
A dinner-sized plate. Wow, that's how can anybody say no to that?
They still can, but they will correct you. This is the power of questions. When you say, how could anybody say no? They were going to correct me. And I can't have a conversation with what I think is right and what you think is right, and the two of them are miles apart. I need you to correct me. I'm okay with being corrected. I'm okay with you telling me a truth. I'm not going to sit here and me prospect to your lie. I tried that. It doesn't work. I'm good at having conversations. I'm good at moving people forward. I got tired of moving people forward in their lie because I'm so good at what I do. I could move you forward in still living a bigger lie. Then I realized that's not fair to you. That's manipulation. I didn't know it was manipulation. Well, they weren't telling you the truth. It's still, if you know, it's kind of like if I were to raise Mason to do stupid things. Why does he do stupid things? Well, I guess I didn't know. No, you knew. You were a parent. Of course you knew. Now, there's things parents do to their kids that's a whole nother story. But if you know, you're not going to do that. You shouldn't. That's not, no, you don't do things like that to people. And then once you realize it, then you're like, oh, good Lord, I shouldn't be doing that. So you upgrade.
Very true.
You become a cult leader that has people drinking Kool-Aid.
Yes, we have many of those.
Yep. So
well, thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Love you too. Other questions, comments, thoughts, takeaways before we head off into the Diane, you should have 2 emails in your email box. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, takeaways before we go? Okay. I urge you, I offer you this idea. Learn how to hear the question that they're asking you, right? And how do you upgrade that? Write down all the questions you normally use in conversations with people now. You'll be amazed at how often you ask questions. You'll also be amazed at how often you give direction, you give content. I can promise you, you will go so much farther, so much faster if you allow them authority in the conversation, be it your kids, right? Mason was driving the side-by-side around in the snow. He's never driven a side-by-side of the little things you have on the ranch, the little carts you have on the ranch, like ranch golf carts. They're made for ranch work. So he's driving the side-by-side around on the ranch in the snow. He's like, oh, this is cool. I said, go faster. I want you to know what it's like to screw up on snow in a side-by-side, not in a car. And he's like, oh, wow, you can feel it slide. You start to feel one with the machine. So I asked him questions. What did you learn? And he's like, and that creates a new set of neural networks. When I go through this process regularly, when I ask you questions, I'm activating new neural pathways. We also know that science says that when you activate a new neural pathway, the synaptic connections between those neural pathways go from about 1,300 on average to 2,600 because it's life-threatening. The brain is building a new space. It's like, I don't want to build new spaces. Yet if I have to, I'm going to make sure I absorb all of the content that is important because the brain's looking for what? Will this kill me? When you're having a conversation with a prospect, they are literally sitting there saying, this will kill me. Because I don't recognize the pattern and I don't know what to do with it afterwards. I've never heard this novelty. The second you ask a question that they've heard before, they say, oh, this is just like that. It recognizes the pattern from one question and says, this is like that. And you're like, I lost them. If you've ever said in a presentation, I just, after the opening statement or after the blah, 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 or after the this, I just seem to lose them. It's because they went into the pattern that they recognized. That isn't your story. Does that make sense? So you have to keep them present. Does that make sense? So I say all of that to say, practice your questions. Practice on your loved ones. Practice with your kids. Learn how to ask questions to the answers, to get the answers you're looking for, without asking the question that forces them to give you the answer you're looking for. It's a fun process. It's a fun, and when you grasp this, here's the neat thing about this tool. Thanks, Jason. When you learn the power of these tools, you get to use them everywhere. I mean, everywhere. I get to use them with my neighbors. I get to use them with CEOs. I get to use them with CMOs. I get to use them with moms and dads and my brothers, and I get to use them with everybody. This isn't just prospecting scripts for network marketing or small business building reaching out to prospects conversations. You are dealing with another human being that number one will pay attention to novelty. Number one, novelty. If it's something like I know, I'm going to lump it in with everything else that I know. Right? I'm going to make a comical statement, maybe. Guys have more. What's the phrase that's out there? Blondes have more fun. That's a pretty generic statement. Blondes have more fun. If you're a brunette going, I have fun too. That's not what the story says, right? My point is that we have these things that we have these patterns we look for, these nodes of connection that we look for. And the second one of the nodes gets activated of a story I know, everything you're about to tell me is no different than the story I know. Which is why when you do self-development, you only develop to the level of self you allow yourself to develop. It's why when you hire a mentor, you get your butt kicked because they're going to have you do things. I don't like doing that. I just don't like doing that. Of course you don't, because it's breaking your old story. You're having a conversation with a prospect, you are ripping them out of their story. And I'll leave you with this. The other challenge with dealing with prospects is that we call it building rapport. I call it story stealing. Because what your story and their story are never the same story. Yet we say, oh, I know. If you've ever said, oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. You've just stolen their story. You think you're building rapport. You have just stolen their story and they feel insignificant. It's called story stealing. Probably have not heard that talked about in network marketing. You've heard it mentioned as build rapport. That's story stealing. And it's another reason why people struggle in this profession. So I'll leave you with that. I will talk about story stealing on another day. I love you tons. I'll see you all here tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bring your friends. And I'm your head brain training. Stop story stealing misfit. I'll see y'all where?
At the next
Next event.
event. Somebody give me some Costa Ricas.
Buena vida.
We love you, Mark. And some Lydias.
Peace
Peace
be
be with us all.
And the queen of helping you tell your story, Jessie Lee Ward.
Boss
Boss
Lee.
Lee.
If anybody's wondering who are these people we talk about, they're people who have been part of the organization, part of the friendship, and they've passed on, and we don't want to forget their name. So that's why we mention them. And the last one, a little white fluffy. Gurgly. It was a very special guardian dog we had here on the ranch called Fiona. And we choose not to forget her either. All right, everybody, go have some fun. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.